Hey, good morning, everyone. Michael Fanning here. This is my warm up 409. And today I was continuing listening to the book Time to Thrive by Arianna Huffington. And this was specifically chapter 6. And in there, they were talking about the power of communication. And so, one of the things, you know, do you want to have better human connections or have deeper human connections? Then, how well do you communicate and how well do you listen? And so, here's what I want you to do. I kind of outlined 5 little areas here that I dug out of that chapter, but I want you to think, I want you to go back. So, number one, I want you to go back to the last conversation you had with somebody. Think about maybe it was yesterday or maybe this morning. And I want you to think, in that conversation, did you learn something new about that individual and did you act upon it? And did you write it down? Did you learn something new about that individual? Did you act upon it and did you write it down? Because if you if you didn't learn something new, if you didn't have an action item after that conversation, not a super effective conversation. Because when we communicate with others, the goal is to learn something about them, not to talk about us. That deepens relationships. What deepens relationships is when others know that you care about them, not when they learn more about you. And that is the power of communication. So think about this: when you meet with somebody and you're engaged in conversation, this is the second one. What is the ratio of you talking to you listening? What's that ratio? Is it 50-50? Is it 70-40? Right? Or excuse me, 70-30, 60-40. What is the ratio of your speaking versus your listening? And you should have more listening and less speaking, right? When you're having conversations with people. Number 3, how many questions do you ask when you're having a conversation with somebody? And studies show that really good communicators will ask between 20 to 25 questions in a conversation, and poor communicators will ask maybe 5 to 7 questions in a conversation. And so, and by the way, the question you're going to ask, that question comes from the last thing the person said. So my next question is embedded in their last answer, right? Because I'm making the question about them. And then the next one, that was number 3. Number 4 is, what is your time of possession? So what I mean by that is when you're sitting there having conversations with people, how much talking are you doing versus how much talking are they doing, right? Are you doing all the talking and they're doing all the listening? And by the way, and what's being said when you're talking, which we'll talk about in just a second. But I will tell you, some of the best conversations I've had is when I have said very little and I've asked a lot, right? And people have walked away and said that was the best meeting I've ever had. Versus if I'm doing all the talking, they'll walk away and say I couldn't get a word in edgewise, right? And you know who those people are. And then the last one, number 5. So when I'm having conversations with people, it's not about me. And so one of the things I find, if you ever talk to those people when you're having conversations with them and you tell a story and then they have to tell a better story, we call those people toppers, right? And what toppers do is they make it all about them. So you tell a story and then they got to tell you their story, or you tell them something that happened to you that wasn't so great and they say, oh, I know about that. Let me tell you what happened to me that wasn't so great. Nothing that you can say, right, is going to make that other person feel good when you're making it about you and you're topping their story. And then the other one is people who listen to respond, not people who listen to understand. Because when you're listening to respond, you're not hearing anything that's said. You're just building your response in your mind while they're talking. If you're listening to understand, you're listening to what they say, and then you're forming a question based on the last thing they said, so you're truly listening. But I will tell you, if you will practice some of these things in your daily world of just communicating, it's amazing. So let's review, right? When you talk to somebody, don't make it about you and try to learn something about them and then act upon it. So for example, if I learned something about a friend and so I sent them a handwritten note or I responded to them with something unique about our conversation that would help them down the road, that's active listening. When you're having a conversation, what's your ratio of speaking to listening? How many questions are you asking, right, in your conversations? And what is your time of possession? And last but not least, don't be a topper and don't be a responder. All right. And by the way, read the book, read chapter 6 on better communication. They've got a lot of really great nuggets in there. All right, everybody. Hey, make it a great day. Be awesome and help somebody. I'll talk to you later.